Welcome to this free immigration help channel. Today is April 12th, 2023, and we are getting into the volume 60 of me answering your immigration related questions from your comments. As you can see, I have all of them pulled up here. Before we begin though, I'm going to mention, as I mention in every video that I make and post on this channel, I'm not an immigration attorney. This is not a legal advice. All the information that I provide in these videos on this channel are directly from official government sources like USCIS and of course the Department of State with their visa bulletin. Alright, let's start with the very first question from Mehwish Zeb, and I'm very sorry if I'm mispronouncing the names. Please guide me steps for how to apply for EAD online for asylum seeker. Alright, well, let's start with that. Before we get to the second question, I'm going to use this as an opportunity to demonstrate some navigation on USCIS website. Here it is. This is the official government website for US Citizenship and Immigration Services. We are on the homepage now, so we're going to go to Forms right here at the top, navigation menu, click on Forms, then click on All Forms. And then you can either scroll down to the whatever form you need. It's all in alphabetic or numeric order, but we'll just type, I think it's a 765 employment application for employment authorization. Here you go, I-765. We're going to click on that. So this is the page, official page specifically for the application for employment authorization. All the information can be found here. This is the link that you need to click on to file it online. This will take you to, I'm going to actually click it. So it will give you a few different options, forms available to file online. I don't know why it took me here, but if you click it here, file online, it will take us to the login for an online account for USCIS. So if you don't have online account with USCIS, just create it, just register with an email, the password. Make sure to remember obviously the password, because most likely you will have to log in multiple times into it. Now whenever it comes to the asylum applications, basically if you are in a pending asylum status, so you have applied for asylum but it has not been granted, it's still pending, then as you can see right here it says already C8, that's going to be your category. And if you are in the pending asylum for over 150 days and you still have not received your decision, then you can submit your application for employment authorization document. So pretty straightforward. The video that you commented on, I go through the application step by step and talk about each field, basically the information that you need to fill in. So really it's all your information that you're filling out. So it might be a little bit intimidating when you just opening up that form, you see all this stuff that is in front of you that is new, that you haven't dealt with, but really at the end of the day it's all your information that you're filling in, and who knows your information better than you do, of course. So it's pretty straightforward. All right, let's move on to the second question. If anyone is selected by hospital for medical residency, then they should submit any document of hospital contract for residency when applying for EAD. Interesting question. I am not entirely sure what medical residency is with a hospital. It kind of, since you're asking it about, that has to do with the EAD, I'm thinking maybe it has to do something with employment. But the good thing about the EAD, you really don't need to submit that many documents that basically show that you are eligible for EAD, because for example, whenever it comes to being in a pending asylum status, USCIS, they already know exactly how many days have passed since you have applied for asylum, how many days your asylum application has been pending. So if you are eligible, you are eligible, and you don't really need to provide any documentations from the employer or anything like that whenever it comes to employment authorization documents, specifically whenever you are applying based on the pending asylum. So I'm going to leave it at that. If you have any additional questions, do not hesitate to ask them. Just don't respond, and it goes for everyone who's asking questions. Don't respond to my comment within your comment, because YouTube does not send me notifications for those. Just submit it as a separate comment and I will be able to see it here on this wall, and I'll address it in further volumes. Okay, let's move on to the next question from Ronalyn McCam. My priority date is April 2018, category F2B. Alright, let's take a look at the visa bulletin. This is the visa bulletin April 2023, the most recent visa bulletin that is available. Unfortunately, a lot of stuff have not updated still on April 2023 visa bulletin, but we finally saw some update on F2A, which tells me that potentially we will see some updates on the in the next few months, hopefully in the next releases of the visa bulletin. But let's take a look at the F2B. Let's see what we got. We know the priority date. Here it is, F2B. Currently it's showing January 2017, so your priority date is April 2018. So you're just about a year still waiting. But here's the thing, here's one thing that I want you to keep in mind. Just because it is showing here right now, this has not been updated for a very long time, for about year and a half. And the reason for that is because that delay that we had with all the pandemic closures. So this is not accurate information. Now, to give you a very rough estimate, since we got the F2A just recently, this is the category that was always showing current, and it is still showing current on the priority date chart, which is not updated. This is not updated information. This right here is updated information. And as you can see, as of April 2023, something that was current is now showing about 2.5 years of that backlog. And I'll probably make a separate video on it because I think it's important. And that kind of gives us a reference point. So if there is a 2.5 year backlog on something that was current, that was caused by the delay due to all the closures during the pandemic, it kind of gives us that reference point to say, okay, so the rest of the categories must be somewhere around there as well. So something that has not been updated, roughly, if you add another 2 years, 2.5 years, you might have an more accurate time than this date right here. I know it's not very good news, but again, like I always say, and I try to be positive and encourage people, because I can personally relate. I have the petition waiting as well. It's better to have some kind of update than just being in the dark and looking at the same date every new visa bulletin, and does it change, it doesn't change, and we don't know what's going on. Okay, another thing that I wanted to mention, Ronalyn. If you are, I'm not sure, you're in F2B, so back before the pandemic, if there was no pandemic closures or anything like that, you would have been about a year from getting that immigrant visa. All right, your beneficiary, that is. And right around that time, you probably would have received already the welcome letter to the portal, to the NVC portal, to become documentarily qualified. So I'm gonna ask you, if you were already documentarily qualified, your beneficiary, that is, and if you were already documentarily qualified, then you can submit an expedited request with NVC. I actually have a separate video specifically on how to submit that request. I encourage you to do that if you are already documentarily qualified, because you do meet another requirement. Well, very close to meeting another requirement, that is actually having the immigrant visa availability, judging by the visa bulletin. You're still a little bit behind, just about like 8 months, but in the next few months, if you're already documentarily qualified, you can definitely submit that expedited request. It might not do anything, but at least it will give a little bit of a nudge to NVC and kind of remind them that, hey guys, I'm still waiting. But if you have any follow-up questions, do not hesitate to ask them on this channel. All right, let's move on to the next one from Alexei E. Good afternoon. Please tell me, category C8 has the status of DT as in Form I-94, and we must choose this item. Okay, so this question was posted on I-765, application for employment authorization again. Alexei, I'm going to ask you for a little bit of a follow-up information. Now, C8 is a pending asylum application. So you have applied for asylum, you have been waiting for however long you've been waiting, but you've been waiting more than 150 days and nothing happened, no decision happened on your application. So now, based on that status of pending asylum over 150 days, you're applying for employment authorization. What I'm not sure you're asking is what the DT is and how it's relevant with I-94. Because whenever it comes to being eligible for the employment authorization document, like I was answering to Mehwish, actually, it's a very similar question. You really don't need to establish anything else eligibility-wise when you are in the pending, as long as you've been pending asylum for over 150 days, and as long as it is the application when they are reviewing it and when they are ready to issue that employment authorization document is over 180 days, that's it. They issue you the employment authorization document. So if you could please clarify a little bit what the DT is and what do you mean with the I-94, because I-94 is a arrival departure record. And they used to back in, probably like probably more than that, like 15 years ago, they used to, with the I-94, when you were granted asylum, they would actually stamp that granted asylum on your original I-94, but they don't do that anymore because they don't even issue those I-94s anymore. So please clarify that, and I will be happy to give you more information. All right, let's move on to the next question comment from Harsh Shah. Harsh, thank you very much for being publicly subscribed. I really appreciate it. I belong to the category F3 visa. My I-130 receipt date is 29 January 2011. I'm having a little confusion about my visa availability. When will I be able to get a US visa? Like whether to consider the date of filing as priority date or final action date as priority date. I'm Indian. Okay, Harsh, so I'm gonna clarify that. Whenever it comes to the priority date, it is the date of filing. So once USCIS have received your I-130, they send you that, if everything is good and they accepted it, they send you that very first notice of action, which is a notice of receipt, basically, because this is the first action they kind of took, right? They received your application. The date on that very first notice of receipt saying that, hey, we have accepted your application, we received your application, we accepted your application, here's your receipt number. The date on that receipt notice or notice of receipt is the priority date. Now, the final action dates refer to the date when the documentarily qualification, when basically the beneficiary became documentarily qualified. Well, not the beneficiary, the petitioner, because it's the petitioner that they log into the NVC portal and then they do all of the stuff, and both petitioner and beneficiary, if you think about it, they become documentarily qualified because the petitioner, they establish their sponsorship ability, being a valid sponsor, and of course the beneficiary, they submit all of the documents that they have submitted to the USCIS, establishing the relationship with the beneficiary, and then they become documentarily qualified. Okay, now let's take a look at your specific category, and that's F3. We're gonna go back to Visa Bulletin. We know that your priority date is January 2011, so we're gonna take a look. We're gonna scroll down, and you are from India. So India has their own separate chargeability area, and if you look at these graphs, you will see that there is one column for all chargeability, everyone from wherever, and then there is separate for China, separate for India, Mexico, and for Philippines. And the reason, obviously, because the immigration numbers are more from those four countries, so they have their separate chargeability area. So if we look at the dates for filing, Graph B, F3 category, all chargeability is November 2009. India is November 2009. So that's pretty good because India is the same as all chargeability area. But you can see that November 2009, your priority date is January 2011. So you are just November and January, what is it like? November, December, yes, like 2 months. So you were almost 2010. So you're just about a year, a little bit more than a year behind the numbers that are shown on the visa bulletin. But again, as I've answered in one of my previous answers, I think it was for Ronaldin. Yeah, it was for Ronaldin. You have to keep in mind that there was that artificial backlog, as I like to call it, that happened during the closures during the pandemic. And as we know, as far as we know right now, specifically on F2A category, it added about 2.5 years. So we can kind of roughly estimate that on the rest of the categories it added about the same, because they have not been moving for a very long time. So this is not updated information that we see on everything on this graph. All of this is not updated information right here. This is not updated information. All of this is not updated information. F1 is not updated information, just the F2A. Literally, this is the only thing that changed in April 2023. Finally, we see some updates. And then using it as a reference point, we can kind of say where everything else might be. All right. So you're looking at 1 year, roughly, a little bit more than a year to catch up to what is shown right now. And hopefully in the next couple months, we will see updates on the rest of the categories. I'm thinking right now there's about 2.5 years on top of everything else that's shown here, but we'll find out for sure. But let me know if you have any additional questions. I'm sorry to everyone, I'm not, it's not the best news, but again, it's better to have some rough estimates than just being completely in the dark. And finally, as of April 2023, that's the positive, that's the good news. Finally, we see something changing. And at least we can now make these kind of rough estimates, because before we were completely in the dark. We had no idea. We were just looking at these dates and like, yeah, well, looks like you're 3 years from this, for example, but we don't know how accurate this is. We still don't know how exactly accurate it is, but at least something. All right, let's move on to the next question from Pape Mbisan Diouf. Pape, thank you for another question. Appreciate it. Hi, this is Pape Diouf. 8 September 20 is the final action date for F2A. My priority date is April 21, category F2A. Do you think my priority date can be current in less than 6 months? All right, well, let's take a look at the visa bulletin once again. And again, F2A was the only category that updated, and yes, it is showing September 2020 now for the final action dates. All right, so it means that the immigrant visa is now, as of April 2023, becoming available for people who have been documentarily qualified back in September 2020. And the reason for such a huge delay is, again, the closures that we have during the pandemic. During pandemic, nothing was being processed. It was just completely on standstill. It was disastrous move for, and it makes absolutely no sense. That's the thing, because these people are not immigrating today or tomorrow. If you're concerned about pandemic, if you're concerned about some kind of flu, whatever, okay, I understand it. You are concerned, all right, fine. But what do these people have to do with any of this? If they're waiting for their immigrant visa, for a year, for 2 years, and they have another 5 years ahead, why are they being affected? They're not immigrating tomorrow. They're not immigrating in a week. They're not immigrating in a month. They still have another 5 years. Why pause? But the reason why it happened is because all of the embassies, US embassies, were closed. So all the people that had their interviews scheduled, that already had their immigrant visas current and so far so forth, all of a sudden, none of that was issued, and they were waiting and for a year and a half, almost 2 years, for however long that whole standstill was standing still. They were waiting, and now we are dealing with the consequences. So with all of that being said, since your priority date is in April 2021, And that's the priority date we're talking about. That's when USCIS have received your case. It's really hard to tell right now whether your immigrant visa will be available anytime soon or not. Why? Again, because we might have some information for the documentarily qualified people in F2A category, but we don't have an updated information yet for the actual priority dates where the immigrant for who the immigrant visas are being issued now. So this is probably going to be even further back, and it technically should be, because these dates you will see that it's going to be 2 years behind compared to these dates, which obviously makes sense because you apply first with USCIS, and then once it is approved, then when it is transferred to the NVC, then when you're documentarily qualified. So it's like at least year, 2 years, if the visa is current. So yes, Papi, I wish I could give you a little bit more information, but it really is hard to tell right now what's going on. Hopefully in the next few months we will have a little bit more updated information for the rest of the categories, and including the F2A for the priority dates, because I'm thinking that if this is 2.5 years behind, then this is going to be also quite behind, unfortunately, and obviously the rest of the categories as well. So we will see May, June, July. I think in the next 2-3 months we will see everything else update, and then hopefully I will be able to give a little bit more accurate predictions. Okay, let's move on to the next question from Harry Vlogs. Can I have your contact because I want to apply my green card? I need help on that, please. Harry, I'm very sorry. I do not offer any kind of services that has to do with immigration. I don't. This is not my business. This is not none of that. I am myself an immigrant. I've been through the process. I've been through most of the stuff. I would say everything that has been asked, at least today, I've been through it myself personally. And I worked in this area, and I've seen many cases, and I've helped a lot of my friends, but this is not my business. I don't offer any kind of services. First of all, I'm not allowed to, and second of all, even if I was allowed to, I wouldn't want to do that. I wouldn't want to help people for money, because when you help people for money, it's no longer help. Okay, that's why this is a free immigration help channel, because I don't ask anything from you. If you're supporting this channel, I'm grateful. All the money that comes from this channel, from the advertisements that you see on the video, from all your super thanks, super likes, whatever, membership, all the money that comes into this channel, I put it right back into the channel. I pay people to translate some of the videos, some of the most watched videos, and then I upload these translations here. So I give everything back. I don't need anything from, because I genuinely want to help people. All right. So with that being said, I'm sorry. I just, it's not a business. So if you have any question, please post it here in the comments, and I will be, I'll try to do my best to answer it as much as I can. Just don't post too much personal information, just in case, to keep protected. Like for example here, Papi, his name, his category, his priority dates. That gives me the opportunity to give some rough estimates for Papi, but that's really all I can do. I can't help him fill out the application. I can't help him fill out any kind of expedited request or anything like that. You guys would have to do it on your own, and then hopefully my videos, my answers can kind of guide you and help you along the way. All right, let's move on to the next question from Supati Siriki Shan, and I think it's she. Yep, I'm pretty sure she. I'm not sure. I'm sorry if I'm wrong, but Sir F2, only one son I have. He is over 21 years. Sir, I'm Supati Siriki Shan. Only my son. He is over 21 years. Okay, so F2 category. So it has to be F2B category. So F2B category, over 21. I see response from Deros, but nothing, so no priority date. Okay, well, let's take a look. I'm gonna give you some rough estimates. Let's see, we got F2B as of right now, as you can see, as of right now. But again, this hasn't been updated. This is not updated information. But as far as what we have, it shows about 6 years of backlog. But again, you would probably have to add 2.5 years, judging by the F2A that has been current and now showing 2.5 years backlog. So on top of the existing backlog, you want to add that backlog from the pandemic. So 6 years plus 2.5 years, roughly 8.5 years total. Again, very rough estimates. We will find out more information in the next few months, hopefully. But this is as far as what we know right now. This is what I can tell you. So let's say if you filed your application back in, let's say in 2020, right? Looks like, let's see, horrible with math, sorry about that. So if you filed your application, for example, in 2020, that's 3 years behind. So total is 6 years. So you already been waiting for 3 years. Plus there is roughly 2.5 years. So you're looking at 5.5 more years of waiting until the immigrant visa becomes current. All right, I'm gonna pause this and we're gonna move on to the next question from Begderos Pew. By the way, for everyone, if you can, please submit a separate comment just in case. I'll still see it if it's responded and I haven't responded. It's only when I respond to something and then you respond to the comment that I responded to, then I don't see it for whatever reason. I don't know why. But like that, yes, I can see it. Okay, so hi, if I'm granted of asylum, what's happened to my 21-year son unmarried when I have green card? Okay, back there's great question. So yes, once you get your green card, it's the same exact thing as Supati. It's going to be the same process. You will be submitting the I-130 petition, petitioning for your 21-year-old and over son, and it's going to be F2B category, and that's the dates that I was giving just right now from that visa bulletin. All right, let's move on to the next question from Mercy Asare. Hi, thanks for responding to my question. My son is unmarried, over 21 years. Thank you. Okay, Mercy, you're very welcome. I hope my answer was helpful, beneficial to you. All right, let's move on to the next one. Okay, so it's again from Mercy. We're gonna do that, and we're gonna move on to the next question from Violet Shahatit. What kind of help you can do with my family-based immigration case from an American citizen mother to her married son and his wife only? It's been over 14.5 years since it's been approved and sent to NVC, where its file has been completed and fees paid for over 2.5 years waiting for an interview appointment with our embassy in Amman, Jordan. But no reply until now. I'm getting old and disabled and badly in need for my son's support. Please help me. Violet, I'm very sorry you're going through this. You've been waiting for so long, 14.5 years as an American citizen. And this is, I think, one of the main reasons why I started this channel is so that other people can see that there are situations like Violet, like she is, the situation that she is in. And it's very sad and it's very unfair because Violet is an American citizen and she's petitioning for her son. As an American citizen petitioning for your child, you shouldn't be waiting 14 years. That's not right. Okay, maybe, a few months, maybe a year, all right. For whatever reason, they take a year. For someone who is a naturalized citizen, who went through interviews, who went through background checks, who went through medical examinations, who went through court hearings, who paid the fees, and now they're doing it all over again to bring their child the same way, the correct way, the system that these people put in place. We go by the rules of the system, and yet these people are treated this way. 14.5 years. Just think about it. Just think about it. But Violet, one thing that I want to tell you, maybe a little bit reassuring. You've been waiting this long, and since you have been already documentarily qualified, since everything is good on the NVC part, literally the only thing that's left is to schedule that interview with the US Embassy, and that's it. And you have been waiting after being documentarily qualified for 2.5 years. And that's the number that I kept mentioning with the visa bulletin, the F2A. And here we see that it is about 2.5 years behind. So the immigrant visas are becoming available for the category that was current before pandemic. Now, 2.5 years late. And you have already been waiting 2.5 years past being documentarily qualified. So I think it is pretty safe for me to say that that interview should be somewhere around the corner, somewhere very, very close. But Violet, I'm going to recommend you, highly encourage you to submit a public inquiry with NVC because you do meet those requirements. You're already documentarily qualified, and you have to have your immigrant visa already available, because if we look at the visa bulletin, we will see that it should already be current. Violet has been waiting long enough, all right? And that's the F3 category, whether it's married sons and daughters or whether it's unmarried sons and daughters of US citizens over 21. Obviously, I'm thinking is F3 because F1 looks like, well, F1 actually, you know what? I'm thinking it might be F1. It might be unmarried. Let me see if she says to her married son. No, she said to her married son. So it's F3. So from the F3, if we look at the date of filing, it is about 14 years. Plus, it has been already documentarily qualified. So what it tells me is that before the pandemic, it was already very close to the availability of the immigrant visas. That's why NVC allowed the full access to the portal, where everything was, where Violet was able to submit all the information and become documentarily qualified, because it was already close to the availability of immigrant visa. The only thing that got messed up along the way is the whole situation with the pandemic. So I'm thinking it should be around the corner, Violet, but definitely submit that expedited request with the NVC. You can submit the public inquiry form first and then submit the expedited request, just to kind of show them that your situation is serious. You really need your son around you. And I'm going to show you how to submit the public inquiry form on the official Department of State website. You can find this link in the description below. From that link, just click on Contact Us. I'm going to open this in a new tab. And from this page, once it loads, we're going to go to US Visa Contacts. And then here, you will see there's public inquiry form. We're going to click on this, and then we're going to click on public inquiry form once again right here. And this will take us to the online page where you can fill out your information, your NVC case number, you should already have it, applicants, principal applicants, date of birth, petitioner's full name, that's going to be you. This right here is going to be beneficiary. Who you are, obviously petitioner or beneficiary, your email, and then your question basically asking. Just provide your information there. Tell them that the immigrant visa should already be available, that you're already documentarily qualified, that the situation is emergency. You really do need your son around you because of your situation. And submit it. It's not a guarantee, of course, that they will expedite the case or they will respond positively or respond at all. I do get a lot of comments on this channel saying that, hey, they never responded. So be prepared for that, but at least you will give them a little bit of a nudge. But judging by the numbers that you gave me, it should be somewhere around the corner, and I really hope that it really is. So thank you everyone for watching. I hope my answers are helpful to you. If you have any follow-up questions, do not hesitate to ask them in the comments below, and I will be happy to address them in the further volumes on this channel. As always, thank you very much for watching. God bless, and I'll see you in the next video.